Hey, lettuce heads. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Today, we're going to be talking with Evan Schiller. And if you don't know Evan, you've definitely seen his work as the #1 golf photography and drone videography professional in the space. We had an awesome conversation because before he got into the photography side of golf, he was a pro golfer himself. Played at the 86 US Open at Shinnecock, so we got some stories on that. And now he's traveled the world shooting over 600 courses. And again, some of the most iconic photos and drone flyovers that you have ever seen. For us, diving in, kind of picking his brain a little bit, how we up our game. It was a great time. Hope you enjoy, and most importantly, stay plugged. Let us heads, we are back with another edition of Please Let Us Golf, the podcast. Today you got Goldie and Adam. How are we doing today, Adam?
Doing great. Very excited.
I know you are for some specific reasons. And yes, and I don't want to bury the lead. Joining us in just a minute is a guest that he might have one of the best jobs in golf. Let's just be real about it. So, if you've been following Please Let Us Golf, scaling course profiles and property reviews has been a core part of what we do. And I believe we do it in a way that's unique and approachable, but there's no getting around that. The fact that capturing compelling video, photography, this is required to help tell the story, whether we're doing short form content, long form content, or overlays, even via the podcast. We got to have the goods if you want people to be captivated. So Adam, we just tease you're on here today because you've kind of been our photog from the beginning, at least for anything that's been more on the higher end, the big rigs. You've handled the
Which
tough
is
stuff for.
that's really scary because I'm still very much a beginner.
Yeah.
I've learned through YouTube videos, which I'm assuming is kind of like relative to like watching golf instructional YouTube videos where you can kind of go down that wormhole and before you know it, it turns into a disaster.
So I was going to tease, let's be honest. So we really don't have a clue what we're doing, but we do have an eye for golf, and you've done a good job of helping us make the product viable at least. So, but today to help us, to assist us in that journey, we are bringing on one of, if not the best in the world of golf photography and aerial cinematography space. Really wanted to say aerial cinematography, but just a fancy term for drone videography. If you've been like us and you've ever opened up a golf course picture photography in the text group, somebody sent you something, you've seen that amazing flyover on social media, major jaw drop, there's a good chance it came from this guy. But he's not just a fancy picture taker. He was a former professional golfer, even qualifying for the 1986 US Open at Shinnecock, which we might have a couple follow-up questions. I think, Adam, from your historian perspective, that was a pretty nuclear event, if we remember correctly. And now fast forward, he's photographed over 600 championship courses around the world. And right now you can head over to evanschillerphotography.com to order his 2026 golf shots calendar. I mean, I was zooming through it before we went live. It's awesome. And you can also check out all the incredible library of other prints he has from courses all over the world. So lettuce heads, without further ado, please welcome to the podcast, Mr. Evan Schiller. Evan, how are we
Hey
doing?
guys, great. Thanks for having me on. Super
No, thanks for
excited. This is good.
yeah, we definitely are too. Yeah, like I said, yeah, tease it out in the intro. Yeah, like what you and your colleagues as well, like you guys really provide an awesome service to the world of golf. I mean, of course, properties love it because you're able to showcase them in a light that most people are never going to actually physically see. But it really is critical for the marketing and scaling. And you get, again, the texture. I just try to make it relatable of how many of these photos and drone flyers come in. It's like when we get into Bandon, when we get into here, I mean, it's awesome. So yeah, so kudos to you guys. But I do have some fun segments planned, but I want to start with that context piece. I've heard you talk about it a little bit, but I mentioned you were a professional golfer, so you're following that dream. and then we get a camera in your hands, and now we fast forward to today. So give us a little bit of the highlights of how that all came about.
Yeah, wow. So I think the first time I ever got a camera, my parents got me one for, I don't know, it was Christmas or birthday or something. It was a long time ago. I might have been 12. And I started taking the camera on trips. And I distinctly remember going to Florida once and going to Lion Country Safari and taking photos. And or
Wow.
Yeah, or we even went up in a helicopter one time. This is my first foray, and just like in Florida, it was just a helicopter tour, and I took my camera. I was taking some photos. Little did I know down the road that I'd actually be taking photos of golf courses from a helicopter before pre-drone era. Uh, and then I played amateur golf. I turned pro. I played, some mini tours. I went to tour school. I played a little bit in Europe. I played a Canadian tour, and after a while, and then I worked as an assistant um, at Westchester Country Club and Quaker Ridge. But it was, I think, I want to say it was actually 1986 where I was playing in the California Open. It was at Mission Hills and the Dinah Shore course and the mountain course at La Quinta Resort. And somebody said, why don't you go? There's the PGA West, the stadium course of PGA West had just opened, and somebody said, go play it. It's really good, and it just opened. And my buddy Tom Patry and I went over and played it early in the morning, and it was like nothing. It was kind of the sister course to Sawgrass. At 17th was an island green. I had never really seen anything like it. It was, I loved it. I loved peak dives, But anyway, we came to the ninth hole, and it was this dog leg around the water, and it was actually, aptly named Reflection because it was a perfect reflection of the distant mountains in the water. It had railroad ties and a bunker running the length of the fairway. And I didn't have a camera, and there was, we didn't have cell phones then. And so I think it was that moment I decided that I was going to go home and get a camera and start taking it with me. And I went home and got a Minolta film camera. You had to load the film in the back,
Right.
and it was not, it was like 35 millimeter. You'd get this slide of negatives, and then I would take the photos and hang them up in my room. And I remember all along the wall, these little 8x12 photos, I hang them up on my wall, and that's kind of how it got started. Little did I know what it would turn into. And then, several years later, I was working as an assistant at Westchester and with Tom, and he said, why don't we sell some photos in the pro shop? The Buick Classic was there, and I just thought that was a joke. Who's going to buy these? And anyway, a couple of people bought them, and that was the beginning of it, and then
Dang.
went from there.
So you mentioned that you kind of started photography. The genesis was the PGA West course. You picked up a camera. So was this prior to the '86 U.S. Open or after the U.S. Open?
It was actually dry. It was that summer. The U.S. Open's obviously in June, and I played in the California Open. I think it was in July or August. It was I remember it was 120 degrees in the desert, and we were staying at the La Quinta Resort for like $40 a night, which is and yeah. So it was August, and it was hot.
I was thinking that maybe playing in that '86 U.S. Open, just looking at the carnage of the leaderboard, that maybe you're like, maybe this just isn't for me. Maybe I need to find a different career because, it like going down the leaderboard, there was like 20 guys that were over 20 over par, and I mean it was nuclear
Yeah.
at that U.S. Open.
It
Roll
was
it back.
one of the highest scoring rounds. The first round was one of the highest scoring rounds in US Open history. Now, the caveat was it was windy and raining. And I remember PJ Boatwright came out to me, I think it was on the 13th hole, and said, okay, we're suspending play for the day, and it was getting dark and it was windy, and I'd hit my ball in the rough. It was the grass is, like
Yeah.
8 inches long. And I said, thank God. And I'd already
Yeah.
been out there. It seemed like 10 hours, but
Oh,
Yeah, it was,
I I think I
I mean,
noticed that.
I loved it. I loved it though. It was a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
I saw a young John Daly on the leader, right? I think he was an amateur, and he barely broke 90 in the first round. I think he shot at 88.
Yeah,
mm,
could have been.
God,
He's
God,
24
that
over
sounds
through the first 2 days. So,
Yeah.
simpler times.
Yeah, I
What
was
can I say? Yeah, no, that's awesome.
if I had made a few putts, I would have been on my way there too.
Yeah. Wish we had some advanced videography and drone technology at that time to capture those moments. So I do want to. So your golf game. So you're an amateur player, and then you went on to play. Did you play at Miami? Did I
Yeah,
hear
I
that
played at
correctly?
University of Miami with actually Nathaniel Crosby and Woody Austin were on my team.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was
So
it so like when you made was it always predestined? You were like, well, I'm D1 golfer. I don't know your level of success while in college. You're going to make the leap to the pros. Is that just the dream of all dreams? Is it
yeah,
predestined that way?
no, it's a good question. You know, as far as a college player, I was probably average. I mean, maybe a little above average. I don't know, and I didn't, I didn't really think I was good enough, but my father said, "Hey," he pushed me and he
Yeah.
said, "Listen, you've been playing golf. You don't want to turn around in 10 years' time and say, 'Hey, I wished I'd done this.' Give it a try for 2 years." He had some money to support me. Listen, if I can't support you, I'll get some friends and we'll put some money in the kitty. And so he said, give it a try and at least see, like if you got nothing to lose, you're young, give it 2, 3, 4 years or whatever. And so I did. Thanks to him, I did.
No, dang, that's awesome. No, we're all here for the dads, so that's a big part of Please Let Us Go. The cheekiness behind the title of Please Let Us Golf is we're asking the
Yeah.
young professionals, young kids, everybody's you're just trying to ask the world to give us some time to get out there and play. So you always need some support.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
gotta ask something real quick before we move on. You mentioned Miami. I'm assuming you were there like early 80s. Okay, Miami early 80s. What we got like Vinny Testaverde, just those crazy Miami football teams. Was the golf team were we invited to any big football parties? Like what was the scene there?
No, well, it was actually right before the program took off. Now I'll tell you a
Ah,
little story. It was right before Jim Kelly was there. He was in a bunch of my classes. I got to know him. Mark Richt, who
Mm,
he
yeah,
he was became the coach at Georgia, and he was assistant. He was the assistant coach at Florida State.
yeah.
Um,
I got
I
to tell
used
Adam. Adam's a diehard Bulldog, so you don't got to give
Okay,
him that
yeah,
name.
yeah. So I used to play flag football on the beach with Vinny Testaverde when he was a red shirt freshman. We play flag football on the beach, like in Key Biscayne. And it was a few guys who were, JV or, red shirts, and they would
Mhm.
come out and play. And it was pretty funny. My roommate, when he won the Heisman Trophy, my roommate and I kind of looked at each other and said, "Was he really that good?"
No, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
that's wild.
So
So I guess I'm making the big leap back. So what's the golf game looking like today? Do you play still when you I know it was kind of a question I had buried in, but do you get to parlay your travels with
some
a
of them,
little
yeah.
extra play?
Some of them, not all of them, but yes, some of them. Yeah. Given my travel and, I don't always have time to play. I try to, play when I can. Um, but, I mean, I don't play as much as I used to, but when I can, I do. Believe me, yes.
Yeah, you still get it around pretty good?
I can do okay.
Yeah. Okay. You don't have to be bashful here. We're very.
You do
Trust me.
okay.
We had a pod where we had a couple statements. It's a recent reel we have on our Instagram. I'm almost embarrassed, but I was so embarrassed by it, I had to let the public see it in short form. I want. Okay. Let's do a little rapid fire to get our photog brains turned on here.
Okay.
Um, Sunrise or sunset?
Good. I was just thinking about this the other day.
Oh,
Um,
perfect.
yeah, I don't necessarily have a preference. It really depends. It depends on where you are. It depends on the light. It depends on the light. It's different. I mean, I guess if I had to choose, I'd probably say sunset, but it's, it like I said, it really depends on the play. Like I was just in the and it depends on the hole, it depends on the angle, the hole. Like I was just in the Dominican Republic last week, shooting at Punta Cana, and there were certain holes that looked great in the morning that didn't look as good in the afternoon. There were some that looked great in the afternoon, but not as good in the morning. Their 18th hole there on Corrales in the morning when the sun it's right on the water. So right as soon as the sun came up, it was amazing. Whereas in the afternoon, it wasn't, the sun was kind of behind you. It wasn't as dramatic. So it kind of depends, I don't
Yeah,
know.
there's
Or was
I
it
saw
kind
on
of a
your
non-answer?
Oh
well
no, it's all
no,
good.
well I get it because I watched the golf.com video on your website, and like it kind of goes through your process of whenever you're taking photographs and videos of a course. And I just couldn't, I was blown away by just how much preparation and like how you scout a golf course hole by hole, and you're making notes like on a scorecard, like, oh, this hole would be great, at sunset at this specific time. And then like you're kind of working with the superintendent as well as like, okay, this pin would look greater if it would look better if it's on this side of the green and this at this point in time. And I was like, man, I'm just kind of going out there like at a, whatever time and just,
Yeah,
just kind of winging it.
yeah.
Like when I watched
Sun's
that video, I was
going
like,
down.
yeah, yeah,
Hey, but
it blew me
I want to
away.
throw Adam a bone though. For somebody who picked it up, look, it's been pretty good. So I mean, maybe I don't want to completely railroad the process, but yes, certainly when you dive into what it really takes when you're doing a dedicated shoot, it's on a completely different stratosphere.
Yeah.
You do any parlaying of the course setup because you're actually going to get out there and you're like, man, I really like a tuck left pin here for a little baby draw. So it's not really about the photograph. You just want to go out there and take advantage of the course. So that's that was being facetious, of course.
Yeah.
But
No.
okay. So what was the next rapid fire? What's your best? This is probably impossible. That's the point of it. What's your best photograph of all time?
It's a good question.
By the way, a lot of these might not be good questions. You're
No,
totally got
no,
you got carte
it's
blanche to say, you know
actually
what, that
it's
one's a pass.
well, if I had to choose one, there's a photo I took of at Bandon Dunes, probably I want to say 5 or 6 years ago. It was on the
Okay.
fifth hole, and you've probably seen it.
Oh yeah.
And it was at sunrise. It was in the morning, and it was in May, beginning of May. And it was this cloudy, misty. I mean, there was this mist and fog coming off the water. It was overcast, and I'm sitting out. It was cold and damp. I'm wearing my rain suit and sitting in the car, just waiting and thinking, well, maybe the sun will come out. And I know golf was coming because they had some kind of event, and I could hear the golfers on the fourth tee from where I was. And the fourth hole is a dogleg right. The green is right by the
Mhm.
water. And I looked to the east, and I could see the clouds breaking up a little bit. And I thought, well, wow, if the sun comes out, if it breaks open, the sun comes through there, this is going to be amazing because you had some gorse and bloom on the cliffs, and you had this fog, this mist coming over, and the overcast dark clouds. I mean, so I took my drone off and just hovered it like right behind the fourth green there, just facing down the fifth, hoping. I mean, literally, the sun came out for maybe 30 seconds, if that. I mean, I got
Mhm.
off a couple, it might have been less. I got a couple of frames. Um, so yeah, I'd say that was probably my favorite. It's pretty cool shot. I mean, there's some
Wow.
others
Yeah,
but if I pick one,
Go
that's
ahead.
that one.
yeah,
Well, yeah, that's
I
an
know
awesome story around it.
yeah, I know
There was
exactly
one
what you're doing.
there was one I took in Ireland this year. There was a couple I took in Ireland because it was there for 2 weeks. It rained every day, not all day. And, the sun would come out for little snippets here and there. And so I got some cool shots at Old Head and the Hinge. It's similar kind of weather. But the one of Bandon is probably my favorite, and I would say the best. It
Right.
was like the perfect storm.
No, it's how it is. Adam, did you have something on Bandon?
No, I was just gonna say I know exactly which picture he's referencing, and the picture like it doesn't even look real. It's so
Yeah.
like perfect, you know. It looks like a painting
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah, I know.
It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, it's right.
And
I've got it right here.
yeah, we'll probably showcase that with a little story time for one of these clips for the pod. But and the fifth abandon, if you don't know, look, it's like choose your hole on the whole property. There's a lot of iconic moments, at least visually stunning. But yeah, five is just, I don't know if saying it's underrated. That's probably, I mean, I think people that have been there love five, but God, what a cool golf hole. And to capture that moment in the story, that's special stuff. Okay. So do you have an underrated destination, maybe one stateside and one globally that not I guess I would say underrated from a golf perspective, but through your perspective of what you've captured, that doesn't get as much buzz or talked about? I mean, like Bandon's, like obviously everyone loves Bandon and everyone loves Pebble, but anything else that comes to mind that just jumps up to the top?
I'll tell you one is it's really an up and coming is Big Cedar Lodge in Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've been there, but they've, I mean, it was never really considered a golf destination, and now they have one, two, three 18-hole courses. Now they got three par threes. They just built the cliffhanger, which looks really amazing. I've been there since, so that's kind of an up and coming one. There's a lot of you know, new. There's so much new golf. A lot of it's private coming up, but
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of new golf courses, you know, being built. That's the one that I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that comes to mind. Um, Let me think about it. I'll get back to you.
No, yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, we are an open line whenever. So anything global. So you do a lot of international travels. There been a place where you're like, wow, this really surprised me at the quality, the opportunity. More people should get out there and see it.
Yeah, I was just in the Dominican Republic,
Mm-hmm.
and I was shooting at Punta Cana, and the courses there are great. Corrales at Punta Cana is really great, but just down the street is a course called Punta Espada, which is is one of my favorite golf courses, and it's not really widely known. It's a Jack Nicklaus golf course, but it is really, really good. And I don't think people see it as a golf destination, but that one's,
Yeah,
that
no,
one's it's really it's fabulous.
I'll bump it to
Um,
the top of our list of things
yeah,
we got to go check
the
out and
other
review.
one, yeah, the other one I would say is Northwest Ireland. Um, I was there in August, end of August, beginning of September. Not, I mean, most people when they go to Ireland, they'll fly to Shannon and they'll drive west and then turn south. Or, go west, you go to Lahinch and then you go to Tralee and Ballybunion and Waterville and they're all great. But if you get a chance, you can go up to Carn and Enniscrone and Nairn Port New and there's Rosapenna. They're all great. There's some really Ballyliffin. There's a lot of really great golf courses up there that are not as popular, but it's really dramatic. The landscape is much more dramatic up there than it is. The golf courses are great, but the landscape's much more dramatic up there than it is in the Southwest, in my opinion. It's some
Mhm.
great, Karn is just otherworldly with the
Yeah.
dunes. I mean, their dunes are 100. There's some dunes that are 100 feet high. I mean,
Whoa.
it's like massive.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely again that one that's been on the radar for a while, but that's good input, good insight. All right, last one of my rapid fires is there anything on the bucket list you haven't been able to do yet, either country or specific destination?
Yeah, Australia, New Zealand.
Okay.
I want to go to Tahiti and Kari Cliffs and Cape Kidnappers and the Sand Belt. And there's a lot of courses down there that keep popping up that I see that you don't even know about that look amazing.
Right.
So yeah, that would be it. I would love to get out to Sand Hills in Nebraska.
Hmm.
Haven't been out there. That's another area that's really booming with golf.
Right. We were just out of Ballyneal in September, so just in that
Yeah.
general region. It's if you haven't seen it in person, you're like, wow, this is the best. I get it. Everyone loves the coast, everyone loves an ocean, but it's a level of serenity that I've like really haven't felt on a golf course.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty special stuff.
It's great. It's remote. And then, if you keep driving, you know, um, Sand Hills is out there, Landman
Right.
is out there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Dismal River. You
Gray
got tons. It's like a bunch of
Gray
Yep.
Bull is out there,
yeah.
Wild Horse.
and
Yep.
yeah, that's a
Dang.
great trip in itself.
Hey, look at Please Let Us Golf. Free ads for everybody. We're everybody go everywhere. We're getting better at getting paid for things, but we got to remain authentic. Number one, so that's the whole point of what we do. All right, so let me transition into maybe some more dense or technical. I'm gonna have to rely on Adam, so I don't sound like a complete idiot on some of these. But like basic question 101: what makes a great golf photograph?
Wow. Yeah. It was interesting. A lot of it, some of it you're not in control of, like the weather, which can make all the difference in the world. I'll give you, for instance, like this last shoot I did 2 mornings in a row. I went out to shoot the 18th hole at Corrales, which is, I mean, it's this amazing par 4 that wraps around this little cove in the water. I mean, the color of the water is amazing. And, the first morning I went out there, the sun was kind of in and out of the clouds on the horizon. And, the shots were beautiful. The next day, it was a little bit, there was some rain showers around, different kind of clouds, and the light was completely different. Right. And there was actually, I was able to capture in the distance some rain showers coming. So you could see the rain and the sun was hitting the rain. So it like looked like this golden color. And it looked completely, I mean, the hole was the same, but the light was so much different than the day before. And I took photos from almost the exact same angle. And I looked at them and I went, it just, the light, the color, everything was different, which was nothing I had control of, or I just was there to capture it. Um, you know, Part of it, like you mentioned before, is scouting and knowing where to be at the right time and knowing, what, angle you want to capture and what you want to shoot. So that's part of what goes into it, is being ready when that moment comes. But as far as what makes a great, so I guess it was a long time ago. This guy, friend of mine who was a photographer, I've never had any formal photography lessons, but this guy said to me one time, he says, you're responsible for that entire frame or what's in it. Make it interesting. Because, because lots of times when people look through a camera, all they see is the middle, right? But you got to pay attention to everything, the lower right, lower left, upper right, upper left. And so one of the things is composition, just the way you compose a photo, the way it moves within the frame, there's certain things that, like on this hole, the 18th hole, there was some palm trees that were on this guy's property, right? That if I kind of angled my drone and I could get the palm trees in the lower left-hand corner, which kind of made it look interesting. And then there was a T, which one of the T's had multiple T's, which I put in the other in the right hand corner, but I didn't want to cut it off. I just made sure the whole T was in there, and you could see a little bit of this. It was a waist area, and there were all these T's interspersed in the waist area. So I placed the T in the lower right with a little sand. So, and then to make sure there's the right amount of sky. People say there's a rule of thirds, which I don't necessarily go by, but we should have third sky, third this, third that. I mean, I never really paid much attention to it. I just look at what looks nice. So, it's composing it also, capturing it at the right time, composing it.
So that was kind of leading in a little. Oh, sorry, you go,
Yeah.
Adam.
No, I was just going to ask, do you think you being a really, really good golfer, does that help you kind of figure out what golfers are going to find interesting as far as what you're taking photographs of? I mean, I'm assuming that
Yeah.
probably helps.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And also knowing who the architect was and what they had in, what showing the architecture as well, and knowing what they had in mind, or if there's certain properties or certain attributes of a certain golf course architect that
Certain
need to be
features.
features, yeah, that need to be displayed in the photo. That's important. And sometimes, like with a drone, you can go up 75 feet, 100 feet, or you could do it. I mean, I even take some where I'm 10 feet off the ground. Whereas I used to use a ladder, now I can just fly the thing 10 feet off the ground, take it from there. I'll take it from multiple angles, multiple heights, and just, see which one. And use different lenses. So, I'll use zoom lens, and it'll compress things a little bit, where I'll use a wider angle lens. It shows a little bit more. And, it just depends on the hole and the situation, the light, what I want to include in the photo.
So how much of it is done in the editing process versus just the raw capturing, would you say?
Yeah. With mostly the editing process is just getting the, it's getting the color right, color contrast right, so it looks right. Because most of the time, because I'm shooting in raw,
Mhm.
and for anybody who doesn't know what that means, it pretty much is self-explanatory. Like, it may not come out exactly how you want it to look, but all the information is there. Whereas if you shoot in a JPEG is compressed, and so it loses some quality. You lose some of the highlight, you lose some of the definition in the shadows. The highlights could be blown out. Whereas a raw image, it'll maintain all of that. You just need to bring it out. And it's a very basic kind of description. So I shoot everything in raw. So all the information is there. And when I edit it, I bring it out. You don't really lose anything. So yeah, the editing process is basically, you may retouch some stuff, you may take out some divots or tracks, or if, there happens to be a person or a cart, or, a piece of dust. Um,
Yeah.
but, most of it's, color correcting, the sky. And because, when you shoot, it's difficult to get the sky and the land exposed correctly, because the sky is much brighter than the ground. So when I shoot, if you shoot to expose the ground, the sky is going to be overexposed. You may get some areas that are blown out. It's much easier to lighten something than it is to bring something back that's blown out. So I usually try to expose as close as I can for the sky, because I don't want any areas that are blown out, and then I'll adjust the ground, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. I don't know if it makes sense to people who haven't done it, but it's like just going through the process and learning
Yeah,
as we've done things, like you just described a very common outcome
yeah,
for what we've had. Like, oh, this picture's awesome. Oh, the sky is super
blown out.
blown out.
Yeah,
And then you kind of work with what you got and crop and make it look good enough. But it kind of goes into this next question too of, does it drive you nuts though that most consumption is now on a phone in a portrait landscape, like to where the you can cut some of those corners because people are just looking at this little box. So as a pro, does it drive you nuts at all?
not really, but I think it's just to, understand that the camera doesn't see what your eye sees. It can't, your eye is kind of adjust. I can look out and my eye exposes everything properly.
Mhm.
Camera can't do that. And
Right.
the other thing is, when you're standing out there, everything is life size, right? A photo, you're taking something that's, three-dimensional and life size, and you're putting it onto a little sensor, and then on a phone screen or a computer screen. So you're taking some of this life size that's 3 dimension or more, and bringing it to something that's 1 dimension and much smaller. So it's never going to look the same. I guess the art is to make it look as similar as
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah, we've just struggled with it too because we started out with predominantly short form. So you're doing a different orientation. And then as we've scaled now into video reviews and doing more landscape orientation, I know like Adam, it's driven him nuts of like, man, these pictures are really good, or these photos are really good, but people are looking at them like this, and it's not. I was like, God, it's not
Yeah.
getting it done. But I guess you
Yeah.
can't
No,
force it.
that's yeah,
I,
I guess that's
I
the
am surprised there
challenge of
hasn't
it.
bigger push on like whether it's Instagram or something to have an alternative feature to where like the reel can be in portrait mode or landscape, like that kind of stuff is to where the whole rotate your phone. I'm surprised that movement hasn't
Right.
been a little faster.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, the
uh,
other thing is like, so people say, I want to see the perspective from the golfer's view.
yeah,
So if I stood in the middle of a fairway and took a photo, half of the photo, if not more, is going to be fairway, and the green will like be this little speck.
right.
Because when you stand in a fairway, you're looking beyond the fairway and you're also interpreting. So you're looking down the fairway, you're seeing things in full size and then 3 dimension, and you're looking towards the green. You're not looking at the fairway in front necessarily. So your camera doesn't see that. Camera takes in everything. That's why it's important to get a little height sometimes, because otherwise the photo is just going to look strange. Like somebody say, oh, I took a fairway, I took a picture of this hole, and
Yeah, it doesn't
I
pop.
can't, it doesn't look the same. I said, well, yeah, you're standing in the middle of fairway and most of your photo is just fairway. That's why you need to get some elevation. So
Yep.
you get away from just having fairway, or you move up and have something, interesting in front.
Well,
Yeah.
this is
So,
we're getting into, so like again, this is selfish reasons why we really wanted to pick your brain, but we've struggled with that part as well. Of so we like from a photography standpoint, yeah, certainly getting like you said elevation and really like it just you're at eye level on a fairway, everything just kind of looks blah. They're useless pictures for us usually. Now from a video perspective, it just depends on what we're trying to accomplish. So we do recognize like, look, we're not Gen Zers doing filming YouTube matches. We're going to signature properties, and we like doing like there's only how many unique ways can you profile a course, but we try to really marry those two worlds of we want to give you that perspective as we're teeing
right,
up a golf hole and then show you execution of golf shots from a golfer's perspective. And I do think it kind of gives you that cool best of both worlds. But yeah, certainly you can't have it all. And, and definitely you run a lot of risk when you're at the quote golfer's perspective of it all just being a dud, or like, oh, you really better hope people are invested in Goldie hitting a 5 iron here because it's just going to be a shot tracer
right.
and
Yeah.
take my word for it. So it's not overly interesting, but people do love watching people golf too. So there's a
Yeah.
market for that. Anything on the technical side, Adam? I know you had some stuff teed up and some stuff based off of what we did or do.
I mean, I think you kind of covered a lot of it.
Uh,
Um,
Yeah, I
yeah,
was gonna
well,
the okay, yeah, go.
well, no, I was just gonna say. I mean, the difficult part for us is, we're obviously going to these courses and golfing, and I'm trying to take a camera along with me as I'm golfing, and so you're kind of trying to find like that one camera and lens that kind of fits like every situation. And I mean, I know for you, you probably have like 5 different lens, or probably even more than that, and a few different cameras. You got all this big rig stuff with you, because I mean you're obviously
Yeah,
there.
let's do a what's in the bag.
Yeah, what's in the
So
bag?
Okay.
when you're going to a shoot, what does it really look like? How many different cameras, lenses, drones? What are we bringing?
So, like on this last shoot, so a camera I have a Sony A7R5, and I have a 70 to 200 millimeter lens on there. So I usually use that if I'm like ground shots, so I'm standing on the ground or something. And then I have a Sony AirPeak, which is the drone, which actually carries a Sony A7R5. So I have two A7R5s with me. One is on the drone, and it's balanced on a gimbal. And with that, I use 4 different lenses. I have an 80, a 50, a 35, and a 24. And I change the lenses accordingly. But every time I change the lens, you got to balance the gimbal. So it's a big drone, but you're also shooting with a full frame full frame DSLR camera. Like it's the same one I shoot with on the ground up in the air. And the quality's amazing. I also have a Mavic 4 Pro, and I love that from its maneuverability and creativity. And so that has, that's got the wide angle lens, which is 28, but it has a 2.5 zoom, which I'm not sure exactly what it is. I think it's around 100, but then it has a 6x zoom, which is crazy. Um, so and so I use that some when I need to. I mean, I love the, like, sometimes the 6x zoom is so cool. I have to check what exactly. I mean, it's more than, it might be 200 or more lens zoom, millimeter zoom, but I have to check, but it gets some wild stuff with that. So I use that, sometimes, and I use that for my video as well. Because I mean, the Sony's not really a long range drone. I mean, although I do fly it, I'll fly it 1,500 feet away sometimes, but yeah, so I use all three depending on the situation.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and they've really, the Mavic 4 has really been an upgrade from the Mavic 3 Pro as far as the
Yeah,
quality of the video and the still photos.
nice.
It's not like shooting with a Sony, but it's, for what
Yeah.
it is, I mean, it's really great.
Come a long way since the Minolta days. I guess the first camera, and now all this new technology, and obviously you've seen the evolution of photography, golf photography, and now we've got iPhones, and like they're like insanely good now, and everybody's got one. Everybody is apparently a photographer. Anyone can take one. I mean, when you look at kind of where you like started early days, has it become just much more difficult from where you started till now to kind of distinguish your work from just an everyday person who's going out with one of these super nice iPhones?
I look at it, I honestly don't get too caught up in it because you can tell when it's just an iPhone photo, or,
Yeah.
somebody who's doing this for a living, or, even for kicks. But yeah, I don't really,
And then you think, kind of circling back to Adam's question. So I was thinking of it through. That's why I teed up earlier the stuff on phones. Is, to me, it's not really delineating like clearly you and your colleagues versus everything else. I feel like it's a pretty obvious gap,
yeah,
but it's like it's the good enough culture of social media, which I struggle with because we have to partake in it for what we do and kind of play the game. But I get frustrated sometimes of whether you like me or my voice or my face. I can't really control that. But it's like, oh, we're putting a lot of effort into this thing. And then you see another product. I'm like, here's a clip of a guy who didn't even bother to look at his settings on his phone with terrible lighting,
I
hitting
get
a
it.
random shot. Oh, but and I go, man, it drives me nuts sometimes. But then, so I think that's just the world we live in, of it's good enough.
Yeah,
But
well, I mean, there's also guys, you probably know them, who, they go out to golf courses, they park in the parking lot or on the street. They fly their drone over golf course, take photos of it without any permission, then post them on social media.
wow.
There's
Yeah.
a
No,
number of guys who do that. And you probably know. I mean,
yeah.
and I know that because there's been golf courses who have told me that guys have
Yeah.
done that.
Well, Evan, if you want to really hurt some feelings, feel free to name these accounts. We'll blast them right now. But I know
No,
you're
that's
not.
okay.
But
I'll
but that doesn't
refrain from naming them. But it's,
y-
hey,
that doesn't surprise me though.
it
I
is,
mean,
no, it
even
doesn't. It is what it
even
is.
like what we did when we were first guerrillaing, kind of like figuring out what we were doing, it was always very deliberate and upfront
Yeah.
with the course, public, private, sensitivity to pace of play. And also it just makes sense because if the if the property engages with the product and they have appreciation, it's only going to be a force multiplier. Even if you're starting out, as a nothing burger of, getting collaboration formally, and just be accepting that 80% of people might say no until you have a portfolio or a library or proof of concept, and then
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
go. But it doesn't shock me of the
No.
volume of, we see it from another lens. Like, you'll be at a course and you see people trying to do like YouTube golf, and it's just, they're showing up with cameras, and then you're like, oh my gosh, what is going
Yeah.
on?
I
This is
know.
a bad situation.
But it is what it is,
Yeah.
but I mean,
It's
that's, if you have a drone, that's what
Yeah, we usually steal our drone photography and videography. When I say that, we get clearance to use
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
just don't. I don't have a desire to go knock that out ourselves. And there's so many people that do it at a high level. It's like, well, we can take care of filling the other gaps in, of bringing you that perspective, as we're going through a course profile. But yeah, if somebody's already captured this moment, I'd rather work with that person than try to recreate a worse product. So, but okay, cool. Adam, anything else for Evan? Is just your burning desire you got to get out, other than just saying like straight up of just tell me what equipment that I need to buy on Black Friday. But I think we got a decent idea of what we need. But
Yeah.
it's all good. Anything else on your end?
I
No,
think I'm
just
good.
going through the note. We usually I got the note out here. I got the iPhone note, and I've gone through my entire list. So that's a good thing. Evan, anything for us before we depart? And this is recorded just before Thanksgiving, so we'll break the fourth wall, and then this will release sometime after Thanksgiving.
Okay, great.
I do have one more thing.
Oh man, I was just getting on my Thanksgiving kick, and you had one more thing. Okay, one more thing. We'll
No,
allow
that's great.
No,
I love the questions.
Well, I was just gonna say, any upcoming shoots that you want to shout out, or is there anything that you're working on?
Yeah. Well, I was just in the Dominican Republic
Mm-hmm.
shooting Punta Cana, and before that, I was in Mexico. There's a new it's a resort, but it's a private club course called Nauka, Nauka, which is really, really amazing, beautiful spot, about an hour north of Puerto Vallarta. Next week, I'm actually heading to Costa Rica.
Whoa.
It's a new Discovery Land property. I don't know if you're familiar with Discovery Land. They're a real estate company, but they have a lot of golf courses, so they have a new golf course down there called Zapato. And I'm going to shoot that. I've done a lot of work for them, so I'm heading there. Then I come home for about a week, not even a week, like 4 days, and then I'm going to Florida to Stream Song.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've heard of this. It's a series, a documentary series called The Challengers.
Okay. Yeah.
So they're filming a piece on me. We're going to do it at Stream Song. So they're bringing their whole crew down there. We're going to spend 2 days filming this thing.
Cool.
Is that
That's
Charles
awesome.
Schwab?
Yes. Yeah. Sponsored by Schwab. Yes. Yeah. Sponsored by
Schwab.
Charles Schwab.
That's exciting. Well, we'll be, we're actually, we haven't announced this publicly, but we're actually going to be doing one of our signature series with Stream Song as well here in
cool.
March. So we're
nice.
excited. We'll be dropping a video on each course and profiling how we do uniquely and all 18
nice.
holes. So we're looking forward to that. So it's
cool.
It's a cool time.
So I have a number of
cool you're racking up the miles. I'm sure sure we're getting a lot of status based on your
Delta. Like when you start seeing Delta likes me. When you start seeing the same flight attendants, you're traveling a lot. But
it must be nice. No, it's all good.
And I guess the last thing is I'm working on a book with my wife.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's I was approached by Hachette Publishing, Artisan Books. It's a big publisher in New York. You've probably seen a number of their books. I went to their offices a few months ago, and I walked through and I went, "Wow!" I mean, I never knew it was like the extent of the books they'd done. So they came to me and they said they wanted to do a book on my photography, and which was kind of cool. And so we've been working on
Very
that.
cool.
Yeah, and they've, for the most part, let us, direct it. There's some guidelines they have, and so my wife and I are. She's doing most of the writing. I'm giving her the ideas and a lot of the content, and obviously the photos. So like we sit down every night and go over. Okay, what about this course? What about that course? And so working
Wow.
on that. It's going to be coming out in the spring of 2027.
That's
We're
exciting.
we're getting
Awesome.
close to getting them their first batch of information January 2nd, I believe. So yeah,
Cool.
it's great getting crunch time with that. So that's been a really interesting, fun project, especially to work with her because she's a really great writer.
Mm. No, that's cool. Keep it
Yeah,
in the fam. That's
yeah,
well, that's exciting. You got a lot
yeah.
going on. So, people wonder how do you make a life out of taking pictures of golf courses, right?
You
And this is
never, I never, I never thought, like I'm gonna make a living as a photographer, but hey,
well,
turned out.
well, when you do good work and you care and you're willing to fight through the run up, it's amazing what things can happen for people.
Yeah,
So,
it's been really great.
I hope you have a
Mm,
great Thanksgiving with you
you too.
and the family. And we said up front, go check out Evan's website. Go look at the new calendar for 2026. We got a book coming out in 27, and then obviously follow him on all the social channels to see some of the best drone work and photography in the world of golf. Let us heads. We will see you next week, and stay plugged.